In this podcast episode, Rich Roll interviews comedian Pete Holmes about spirituality, psychedelics, and the absurdity of life. Pete Holmes is known for his ability to blend humor with deep philosophical questions, and he shares his unique perspective on these topics throughout the conversation. One of the main themes discussed is the impact of fatherhood on Pete's spirituality. He explains that having a daughter has made him less self-centered and has given him a greater sense of purpose. He also talks about the balance between being a comedian and being a father, and how having a family unit that he cares about more than his career has shifted his priorities. The conversation then turns to the nature of reality and consciousness. Pete shares his belief that we are all carrying around various identities and beliefs, and that dropping these identities can lead to a greater sense of freedom and happiness. He also discusses the importance of embracing the cracks and imperfections in life, as they allow the light to shine through. The topic of diet and health is also touched upon. Pete talks about his experience with the 5-2 diet, where he fasts for 2 days a week. He explains that this diet has helped him reprogram his relationship with food and has allowed him to feel clean and lean. However, he also acknowledges the cognitive dissonance he feels as a former vegan who now eats fish. He recognizes the ethical implications of his dietary choices but also acknowledges the practical challenges of maintaining a strict vegan diet. The conversation then shifts to Pete's creative process as a comedian. He explains that his ideas often come from a strong feeling or passion about a particular topic. He texts himself ideas and then tests them out on stage, refining them over time. He also discusses the importance of stealing from oneself, meaning that he often revisits old ideas or jokes and reworks them to fit into his current material. Pete also talks about the different phases of a comedian's career. He explains that in the beginning, comedians go up on stage every night and constantly work on their material. However, as they progress in their careers, they enter a phase of balance where they focus on finding the right levels and honoring their own processes. Pete shares that he now performs a monthly show at Largo where he does an hour of stand-up, and this is the bulk of his work in a month. Pete shares that he performs at the Comedy Store once or twice a month and occasionally at other venues like Dynasty Typewriter. He emphasizes the importance of reheating his hour-long set and taking advantage of the work he has put into developing his comedic mind. Pete also mentions that his wife has complimented him on how his career as a comedian doesn't dominate their relationship, and he only travels for shows one weekend a month. He discusses the idea of finding the right balance in life, similar to how entrepreneurs and business people strive to optimize their schedules. Pete suggests that comedians should also focus on finding the right balance in their work and personal lives. He mentions his friend James Bashar, who has a structured approach to managing his time and suggests that comedians could benefit from adopting similar strategies. Pete talks about his move to Ojai and how it initially scared him because he thought he would lose his identity as a comedian. However, he realized that he could still maintain his career while enjoying a more fulfilling personal life. He credits his wife for suggesting the move and creating a balanced and happy life for them. Pete also mentions that he feels like he has finally found a sense of community and belonging in Ojai. The conversation shifts to the topic of podcasting, and Pete reflects on the evolution of the podcasting industry. He acknowledges that starting a podcast now is much more challenging than when he began over 10 years ago. He also discusses the impact of podcasting on the comedy industry, allowing comedians to have more control over their work and connect with their audience on a deeper level. Pete highlights the importance of authenticity and vulnerability in podcasting and how it has influenced his own personal growth. He shares that podcasting has taught him how to be more open and honest, even discussing personal topics like his divorce. He also mentions that podcasting has allowed him to have more meaningful conversations and connect with his audience in a more genuine way. The conversation then turns to Pete's unique career path, which includes not only stand-up comedy but also television, podcasting, and exploring spiritual topics. Pete discusses how he initially struggled to talk about spirituality in his comedy, fearing how it would be received by audiences. However, He gradually became more comfortable discussing spiritual topics and found that many people resonated with his perspective. Pete credits his friends, such as Rob Bell and Richard Rohr, for helping him navigate his spiritual journey and feel more at ease discussing these topics. He emphasizes the importance of modeling and finding like-minded individuals who can support and inspire personal growth. Pete also talks about the power of metaphor and storytelling in conveying spiritual concepts and connecting with others on a deeper level. He discusses the idea that literal truth is the lowest form of truth and highlights the importance of metaphor in understanding spiritual concepts. Pete shares that he embraces a mystical approach to spirituality, focusing on the experiential and transcendent aspects rather than the literal interpretations. He also mentions the role of psychedelics in his spiritual exploration, noting that they initially opened his mind to new perspectives but that he has since found other ways to connect with the divine. Pete continues by encouraging others to nurture their sense of awe and wonder and to embrace the mystery of life. He emphasizes the importance of finding balance and surrendering to the unknown, rather than seeking concrete answers. Pete believes that spirituality is about appreciating the beauty and complexity of existence and finding peace in the midst of uncertainty. Pete continues by talking about his upbringing in a Christian household and how he eventually questioned his faith. He explains that he was drawn to atheism because many of his friends were atheists and he saw that they were good, moral people. However, his perspective on spirituality shifted after trying mushrooms for the first time. He describes the experience as feeling connected to everything and having a sense of oneness with the universe. This led him to realize that there is something beyond words and concepts that can't be fully explained or understood. Pete delves into the power of metaphor and myth in conveying spiritual experiences. He explains that while words may fall short in describing these experiences, metaphors and stories can transport us to a place of understanding. He mentions Joseph Campbell and his exploration of mythology as a way to understand the human experience. The conversation then turns to Pete's experiences with psychedelics, particularly his use of 5-MeO-DMT and ketamine. He describes his profound experiences with these substances, including a sense of ego dissolution and a feeling of being connected to something greater than himself. Pete emphasizes that these experiences are not about escapism, but rather about confronting oneself and gaining a deeper understanding of reality. Pete also discusses the importance of recognizing that reality is a subjective experience. He mentions a TED Talk that describes reality as a group hallucination, highlighting the role of perception in shaping our understanding of the world. He encourages listeners to question their beliefs and consider how their experiences and perspectives shape their reality. The conversation then shifts to forgiveness and mercy. Pete shares his struggles with forgiving his parents and how he has found solace in the practice of forgiveness. He explains that forgiveness is not about condoning or forgetting past actions, but rather about recognizing our shared humanity and letting go of resentment. Pete concludes by emphasizing the importance of recognizing the impermanence of our identities and beliefs. He encourages listeners to let go of attachments and embrace the present moment. He suggests practices such as meditation and self-inquiry as ways to cultivate a deeper understanding of oneself and the world. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe.